Decay, and we're back with another video today for the Decay cut on the Fredrick Towne Mall in Frederick, Maryland. The mall closed in 2013, and it houses the only two remaining stores, which were Boscov's and Home Depot. And the mall is so eerie from the aspect of it's something that for some reason I felt like I knew it was a dead mall, I knew it was abandoned, but for some reason I still had this weird, I don't know what, I was somehow expecting this mall to be bustling with people, or at least be like the Martinsburg Mall when I walked in, even though I knew it was abandoned and closed, but I don't know why that was. When I walked in the back door, where I did walk went to one of the back doors to the store, I came into a boiler-looking room, very back room behind, like, of the back end of the store. And it made me think, because the power was on, that I figured the power would have been off by now since Dan Bell's exploration. Well, it wasn't. And it made me think that the actual it made me think that people were in there working, which they had been recently, and the heat was on in here and everything, so it was absolutely surreal. And as Dan Bell said, I'm going to quote him here, "Neon dreams forever," and it's true, because there's literally neon lights on every one of these stores almost, and they're all on. And I come up to this store was a Foot Locker. I'll try to tell what each store was. But the mall was dead and basically abandoned before they finally closed the doors. The only two remaining stores, I think, the last store to go out was, I think, a Hallmark or a Radio Shack. And you'll notice that most of these stores were cleaned out, but a lot of them left some things behind. And I'm really surprised that this mall wasn't inhabited by homeless people. It may be at night, but I don't think so. I'm not too certain. They do have security surrounding it. But the mall, it's just kind of, it's an experience. It's something you have to experience in person to know what I'm talking about. And I really love this store here. I love this store with the windows all wavy. And my grandfather was with me on this exploration. He told me he was going to stay in the car. Well, I'll show you here in a minute when we get in this store. But he if you look this mall up on Google too, it says permanently closed, and they actually had plans to make it into a Walmart or another shopping center. But there's a thing on deadmalls.com too, which I'll quote. But I was in the store and I saw a guy walk by, and I had no idea who he was. So I freaked out, and I just dead stopped in my tracks right up here, and I'm around a bunch of mirrors, so I can see somebody walking around in the background. Not so much in the video. In person you could, and this is really creepy because my reflection was all around me. It was just so creepy. And the feeling of being alone inside this place, and the way it looked, made me feel like I was in an apocalyptic movie. See, I stopped here. And, well, it turns out it was my grandfather, and he about scared the crap out of me. And so I went back out here and said hi to him and all, but in 2013, the Fredrick Towne, here's a quote I'm going to give. "The Fredrick Towne Mall is about as close to death as a mall can get without actually being dead. The two anchors, Home Depot and Boscov's, are still alive, but the mall itself is kept open pretty much solely for the benefit of its one surviving store, a Hallmark store that's not even fully stocked these days. The halls are run down and filthy, with posters still in frames advertising sales that expired years ago, and half of it has been blocked off from public access. For all intents and purposes, the mall is dead, and the last I heard, the plan was to demolish it, although I have no idea what the owners plan to do with the real estate afterward." There was this crib sitting here. This pizza place was so cool. I actually have a video I'll link in here about this pizza place where a guy was in here, and he and when the place was still open. I'll link several videos, I guess, in the description or in a little, um, I don't know what to call it. I'm just gonna call it an eye. This was the pizza place here, and there was a video of it when it was still open, and there was nobody behind the counter. It was just sitting here, and it was so weird. It was so weird when this guy was walking down through here. This is also the same spot where Dan Bell ended up. Dan Bell got in here, and this door to this kitchen opened up on him, or I think closed. I'm not sure exactly. Um, but there's just it was just so bad. Um, the Fredrick Towne Mall is about. This was in 2011. The Fredrick Towne Mall is at about half occupancy with about 20 stores. The lots have vendors including a handful of chain stores like FYE, Payless Shoes, Subway, GNC, Fashion Bug, Hallmark, CVS Pharmacy, and a Radio Shack. The other stores make up an eclectic, I think, blend of real retailers such as seen on TV, merchandiser, discount product stores, a tailor, hair salon. There is also a Hoyt Cinema and a Pocket Change arcade, which formerly occupied a large store area, but now only has a few machines in a corner store. The few machines are placed in front of old counters and cabinets that were never removed when the old renter vacated the space. There's that one neon light there. And we head back down towards the Long John Silver's now, which I found so cool. So amazing. It was so amazing. And I mentioned Dan Bell in the video because Dan Bell, I know, had done the mall, so I tried to text him or get a hold of him and say, hey, I'm at the mall. And none of these lights in these stores were really on when he was here, or he had turned them off. I don't know. Maybe he had turned it off for video effect. I'm not sure. I knew he turned on lights at the beginning of the night tour, but and I couldn't find that mirror store. But I think maybe it was stripped out. It might show it in the video, but I never found it. But this was Long John Silver's, and it was so cool. I called it Long John's in the video. Now, this right here was the original Subway that was in this building, and this is headed down towards the theater. And I actually went in the theater. I want to talk about this. This place, it has all kinds of like the typical Subway stuff in the walls, but down here they had like the Taylor light on. It's another one of those neon lights. And there was also the movie theater, and there was this unknown store. I'm not sure what that was, but it was some type of restaurant or something. I think it was maybe an Aunt Annie's or something of those sorts. Your Custom Tailor. I like that sign a lot. They were doing some excavating apparently. I'm not sure on what exactly though, but I know they were doing some excavating. Hoyt Cinemas, I believe, went out of business, and it was still open in 2011, so I think maybe it wasn't, I don't know. I'm not sure if it was open. Not sure exactly when it closed, but these doors were locked. And it seemed like a really cool cinema. It had a lot of theaters in it. And it was built in. I liked this little thing here where you bought your tickets outside. And I would love to see this theater when it was still open. And I added that commercial for Hoyt's at the beginning of my video, just for that. I figured that would be cool. And I was looking around here, and I eventually figured out, hey, Dan Bell, went in through this little back entrance, like, oh. And so, I mean, it was just... But here we are inside the theater after I went down this hallway. And they actually, on one of the doors, you'll see it when we go back out, it was really creepy in this actual movie theater area. I felt so creeped out, and I felt like I felt like somebody was just gonna jump out. It was dark, I couldn't see, I felt like, I just felt trapped. There was only one way out, because these doors here, well, I later figured out these doors actually were open, but at the time I thought there was no way out those doors, so I felt just kind of trapped if anybody decided to come for me. So I ended up going back out, but I'm gonna show you this door here, and I found this so funny. Um, Once I get back out, it was so dark in here. I needed a flashlight because there was like no lights on in this corridor. And we go back out here. I was so ready for somebody to just jump out. Oh, I didn't shut the door. There was a door here, and I'll show a picture of it. Hold on, I've got a picture of it. But anyway, that door there, they had taken handicap signs from the parking lot, I'm guessing. It had to be from the parking lot. Um, and they had drilled them to the door to keep the door shut instead of just boarding it up or something else like that. That was how just desperate they were on this place. Um, but then we head back now up the corridor. You can just see I love the view when you're actually in person walking here was absolutely surreal. Um, there was the pocket change as mentioned. Um, and there's that crib sitting in the middle of there. I don't know what I would have done if somebody had jumped out. I probably would have hauled out of there so fast. Um, and there was a couple instances where the somebody had taken down that gate. There was just all these stores used to be closed up, and at one point my grandfather tells me, "Hey, you can't go in all these stores," and I was like, "All right, I won't," and I wanted to so bad, and I pretty much did. But up here is this gym right here. You'll see it. You can see the windows and the front facet of it. This place was absolutely surreal. It was an old Wendy's, and you can still see the booths and everything, just like it was, like actual. It's just the old, torn up, the old pictures on the walls, old torn up booths, the old trash cans with the big push thing on them, the tiles, and it smelled really bad. It smelled like Wendy's food that had been sitting for 20 years, and then somebody microwaved it, and then let it set for another 10 years in a toilet, and then microwaved it again. It was so bad. It smelled so bad. You can imagine how that probably smelled. And the ceiling lights were. I don't know if these were. I'm pretty sure these were lights. I don't think they were skylights. I think they were just lights in the ceiling. Because I don't think they would have had a skylight in a store. I might be wrong. But yeah. There was another. I think that was another pizza place. And there's all these little things. He mentioned something about a gang sign. And there's all this old marble on this old K's, I think that's what it was, jewelry store, and then there's the, I believe, Radio Shack. And then you'll see up here, as we go, I'll show this would be the main area, and there's a naked mannequin sitting in the bush, and that old Christmas decoration. They have some pretty surreal pictures, and there's the old advertisements that they were talking about for. They're pretty old. I think somebody can probably tell me how old they are or not. I'm sure somebody knows. But I'll show you some of these pictures of this little area here. And Bonton, I figured out later on, was on both sides of this area, so that was pretty interesting. So put up some pictures here. But here we go back. I put a picture of that Wendy's. Look at that tree there. It's all overgrown, and it was growing out of the pods. This was the bigger part of the Bonton, and it was really cool in here. All the lighting was on, and I got down farther a little bit. But I walk all the way down here, and then I was kind of taking it slow, and it was so shaky, and I was so disappointed with the shakiness of this video. So disappointed. But here we head back out. Across there's the other part of Bonton, which I didn't end up going in, but there's another view of the hallway and the trees and all, and into the front end of the Bonton. There was the paper on the door, or the pole there, and I was trying to read it. But there was just, it was so cool. Then we're heading up towards Boscov's. There was Victoria's Secret on the left. I believe, I think it was a smaller Victoria's Secret to where it only had one side. I'm used to there being two sides in the Fredrick Towne Mall. The Fredrick Towne Mall one takes up two stores. One with a more recognizable front and one with a non. But it was connected, but the other side just didn't look like a Victoria's Secret. Which maybe it wasn't towards the end, I'm not sure. But there was the FYE. Now this FYE scared me too, just like the theater. I felt like somebody's gonna jump out. There was gift cards left all over the floor. There was no lighting on in here. I think all the lights had been turned off or something. But I got back in here, there's a mannequin there. And I just kind of looked around, but I was trying to pick up these gift cards to see if, you know, just what was there. And this FYE was still full of all the shelving, and it was dark, so I figured if somebody's in here, they might be hiding behind this shelving, and they could just pop up and stab me or whatever they wanted to do, grab me, you know, whatever. And there was all this just glass everywhere, gift cards, glass, and old merchandise. There was like old boxes to electronic devices people had stolen. And you can't really see, and that's why I skipped to the back. But when you're in there and it's dark like this, it's just so creepy. And I got back in here and this light switched on in the back, and I wasn't sure what had just happened, but I looked over and there was apparently a sensor. But I'm not entirely sure that was the sensor or if somebody was in there or not. But I jumped on that part. Let me go back out here. And we're getting ready to go into one of the stores that has a lot of lighting on. There was another place over here that was Joey's dollar store. That was the signs I'd taken a picture of. It looked like they had it covered at one point and they uncovered it. And I wanted to go in there just to see what was left, but I knew my grandfather had said don't go in every store. This store here was really cool. It had all the power was on. All the lights on and everything, but when I actually tripped there. But here we go back out, and we're about to come up on there was these big pots in the middle of the thing where they had trees in, those classic mall trees. You know, those trees you see in every single mall, because every single mall had that tropical theme for some reason. And this was the neon, I like to call this the neon dream, because it's what Dan Bell used as his actual thumbnail on his night video, and it's the whole store is just the neon wave through it, and it looked so cool. This back end, there's just the back end, and it had radio equipment and camera equipment and everything else in it, which I'm guessing they had taken stuff down from the mall, the camera equipment that was in the mall. But look at those neon lights. In person, it was just so cool, so surreal. There, man, I'm looking at the camera. And it looked like a classic 90s pattern on the wall. The way the walls looked on the top, it looked like a darn birthday spot. And there was this sled here, which apparently they sold. My grandfather wanted to buy that, but apparently they had already sold it. And you go across here, and it was some type of, I think, Adidas store or something like that. Maybe this was Foot Locker. I think this might have been Foot Locker. Either way, it said, yeah, this is Foot Locker. But it didn't make much sense because part of the store was connected to another store and so on. But they had birthday party things, birthday party favors and banners up all around this store as if somebody had come in this abandoned mall found a bunch of birthday favors, or brought a bunch of birthday favors in. Who knows? They might have gotten them from the dollar store over there, across the way. And apparently there's some story called "It's About Time," which I'm guessing they sold something with clocks, but not sure what store that was. But it looked like somebody had brought just party favors in here and had decorated for a birthday party and had held a birthday party in here, which maybe before the mall closed they did, and they just didn't bother to take anything down, but I'm not sure. But I think this might have been part of Foot Locker. It just doesn't make much sense to me, unless they had a side for separate pairs of shoes. Here was Bath and Body Works, across here. Those classic Bath and Body Works fronts you see in every mall as well. With the wood, it just pops out. Another one thing you don't see in every mall is those wavy windows. But this Bath and Body Works still smelt like a darn it still smelt like it was a Bath and Body Works. It smelled sweet, like it was filled with lotion still, and there were still people asking me if they could help me with anything, and it was weird. It was weird how sweet it smelled in here. The rest of the mall smelled like a dead mall, while which smelled like it was kind of like this Bath and Body Works. Just I don't know. It was just wow. There was that one light on in the hallway. So we cut to this hallway here where the management office was, in the back door to one of the stores. I think that's Bath and Body Works. But all the old and there's bathrooms down here, the restrooms, and an exit. The boys' restroom was locked. There was an office that was locked with a keypad, and then there was the management office, which the management office was what it just amazed me so much at the fact that the management office looked exactly like they had just one day they had just locked the doors and so then everybody just figured they were out of a job and didn't get to get any of their stuff back or anything, just left. Because there was everything, vacation photos, family photos, all kinds of stuff in here. It looked like they had just left from a meeting on the mall. The safes, people had been in here trying to get in the safes, but there was still food in the fully stocked break room. Just people's little knickknacks that they get on vacation, or things that their kids had made them that they never got to pick up. They're just sitting here. It was just so weird. It was so strange. It was just so weird. Somebody had been having sex in the bathroom, you can tell. And everything was just left. All of it. I think that was an advertisement for the theater or an FYE over there that they were storing in here. And there's the new planning things for the mall, the new area of the mall. So they were planning for the new tear down of the mall inside the old mall, and even the phones were still on. That phone was still on. Now, if I would have picked it up and hit a button on it, I don't know what it would have dialed, or tried to dial a number. I don't know if it would have worked or not. But so that was that, and you can see over here they had the safe, and there's all kinds of family photos on the floor, and there's that safe, which people had clearly been trying to get into. And you go back out here, and I was telling my grandfather about it because I was just like, what in the world? I was like, this has got to be a trap. This has got to be something. I tried this door here, but it has a keypad on it. So apparently something in there was important that they had to keep locked up. So there was the bathrooms. This is one of the bathrooms, the women's bathroom that was unlocked, which somebody had a pizza cup. Somebody had a drink from the pizzeria that I went in at first, that they had left in there and nobody had ever cleaned up. That was the security office, which still had people's security photos on it, still had all the jackets laying there. He picked them up. He picks them up there. It was just still everything. It was so amazing. So we cut to this hallway here where the management office was, in the back door to one of the stores. I think that's Bath and Body Works. But all the old and there's bathrooms down here, the restrooms, and an exit. The boys' restroom was locked. There was an office that was locked with a keypad, and then there was the management office, which the management office was what it just amazed me so much at the fact that the management office looked exactly like they had just one day they had just locked the doors and told, so then everybody just figured they were out of a job and didn't get to get any of their stuff back or anything, just left. Um, because there was everything, vacation photos, family photos, all kinds of stuff in here. It looked like they had just left from a meeting on the mall. Um, the the safes, people had been in here trying to get in the safes, but there was still food in the fully stocked break room. Just people's little knickknacks that they get on vacation or things that their kids had made them that they never got to pick up. That are just sitting here. Um, it was just so weird. It was so strange. It was just so weird. Somebody had been having sex in the bathroom. You can tell. Um, but and everything was just left. All of it. I think that was an advertisement for the theater or an FYE over there that they were storing in here. And there's the new planning things for the mall, the new area of the mall. So they were planning for the new tear down of the mall inside the old mall, and even the phones were still on. That phone was still on. Now, if I would have picked it up and hit a button on it, I don't know what it would have dialed or tried to dial a number. I don't know if it would have worked or not. But so that was that, and you can see over here they had the safe, and there's all kinds of family photos on the floor, and there's that safe, which people had clearly been trying to get into. And you go back out here, and I was telling my grandfather about it because I was just like, what in the world? I was like, this has got to be a trap. This has got to be something. I tried this door here, but it has a keypad on it. So apparently something in there was important that they had to keep locked up. So there was the bathrooms. This is one of the bathrooms, the women's bathroom that was unlocked, which somebody had a pizza cup. Somebody had a drink from the pizzeria that I went in at first, that they had left in there and nobody had ever cleaned up. That was the security office, which still had people's security photos on it, still had all the jackets laying there. He picked them up. He picks them up there. It was just still everything. It was so amazing. Here we head back towards we're in the ground round now. And I had a really interesting story about this. The ground round apparently around 4 p.m. or maybe it was around lunchtime. I can't exactly remember. But they had a huge meeting at this place closed before the actual mall closed. They had a meeting at the ground around headquarters because this was a corporate business. They had a meeting at the headquarters for this place. Somebody had stripped the ceiling out looking for copper, I'm guessing. But they had a meeting at the corporate offices in the city somewhere, I think in Nebraska or something like that. And they were bankrupt, and they all made a decision in this meeting while all these locations were open, that they were just going to close them. They were done. They were just going to close all the ground rounds. The ground round was done. They went out of business. So they called every single restaurant. They had people call in every single restaurant that they had open, including this one, and told them that they needed to close the store right now, that they would be sending people to get things out, and they had to rush people out of the restaurant mid-meal. And so people were just rushed out mid-meal, didn't get a refund or anything, they just closed the doors. And so you have to think how awkward that would be. This was the bank. This was one of the last remaining ones too. And I couldn't find the safe, unfortunately. I'm very sorry about that if that disappointed anybody. But I couldn't find the safe, so there wasn't much to this place. It was just a bank. So, which I didn't go down one of the corridors, and at this point I was kind of rushed because my grandfather, I felt like he was getting ready to say, we need to go." and so I felt rushed. So I never looked hard enough, but I think they had taken the safe out. But yeah, there wasn't much at all. And now we're in the theater. We went upstairs in the theater. I skipped a lot to get here, and I started flipping breakers in hopes that something would come on, and my grandfather told me to stop. Unfortunately, I was really unhappy about that because I wanted to get a picture of the theaters with the lights on, which I don't even know if they would come on or not. And that was that only little light that was the little remaining light that was in here came from the roof ladder. But these were the big old projectors. And then I mean they were the older ones, I'm pretty sure too. But they had a huge projector room, and they had these big disc-looking things, which may thinking maybe they had film on them. That's a wild guess there. I don't know. Somebody told me if I hit it right. They had panels all along here, and it got really dark, but it looked really creepy. It looked like some kind of science. In the dark, it looked like some kind of old abandoned science lab. And you go back up here, and there was a really funny story in here too. I mean, it was kind of scary. I mean, we could have died. But while in the elevator, not while in the elevator, we opened one of the doors, and there was an elevator door, and he opened it. My grandfather was getting ready to step out. Well, that elevator was not there. So, but anyway, this is another shot of the area here, and we're actually at the end of the video. So, thanks for watching another episode of the Decay Cut. This has been Master of Decay with the Fredrick Towne Mall Decay Cut. Thanks for watching. Give me a like, subscribe, and comment on how I did.